Welcome to Chemistry with Dr. Z. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the extraction of metals from their ores. So, how do we find metals on Earth? So, most metal on Earth are not found in their pure form, as they are quite reactive. So, they are usually found as compounds, and the metals have to be extracted from these compounds before they can actually be used. So lots of metals like iron will react with oxygen to form metal oxides, and these are found in the ground. These are called the metal ores, and we have so many different metal ores, not just for iron, but for many other metals as well. And the metal needs to be separated from its oxides. So the formation and extraction of metals are type of the redox reaction. So formation of the metal oxide is an oxidation reaction. So formation of metal oxide as an oxidation reaction, there is a gain of oxygen, like magnesium with oxygen will react with oxygen to give the magnesium ore or magnesium oxide. This is an oxidation reaction, while a reaction that separates the metal from its oxide is called a reduction reaction. So we have extraction of metal as an example of reduction where there is a loss of oxygen. So copper oxide as one of the ores can be reduced to give copper metal. So copper oxide with copper will give you the copper itself and carbon dioxide. So the extraction of metals the method of extracting the metal will depend on its position in the reactivity series. So if you remember that the reactivity series have the different metals, but we have carbon, which is a non-metal, and we can find the carbon in the reactivity series. So all the metals which are above carbon are more reactive than carbon, while the metals which are below carbon are the ones which are less reactive than carbon. So the position of the metal in the reactivity series will determine the method of its extraction. So metals which are below carbon in the reactivity series are less reactive than carbon, which means that these metals can be extracted from their ores by reduction using carbon. In this reaction, the metal is reduced as it loses oxygen and carbon is oxidized as it gains oxygen. So an example, if we have iron oxide, Fe2O3, one of the iron ores, plus the carbon, well, that will give you iron and carbon dioxide. Iron was reduced in this reaction because the iron lost the oxygen, and the carbon was oxidized as it gained oxygen. What about the metals which are above carbon in their activity series? These metals cannot be extracted from their ore by reduction with carbon, as carbon is more reactive than as the carbon is less reactive than these metals, so it cannot displace the metals from their salts or from their oxides. So in this case, we use a method called electrolysis. So electrolysis is the method we use to extract the metals which are above the carbon in the reactivity series. So something like aluminium, like magnesium, calcium, sodium, these can be extracted using the electrolysis, not by reduction with carbon. Few metals at the bottom of the reactivity series, like gold, for example, are non-reactive. So they don't react with oxygen to give metal oxides or to give ores, but they exist as metals and can be extracted from earth or mined in its elemental form. Example of these is